Ignorance as Certainty, When Confidence Replaces Evidence. Written by Mark Tyson. Trent. Lichtenwalter. Critics of the Book of Mormon often speak with a confidence that far exceeds their familiarity with the material. Assertions are made casually, dismissals offered reflexively, and conclusions announced as though the case were already settled. What is rarely acknowledged is that the Book of Mormon does not rest on vague spiritual claims alone. It makes specific, testable assertions about geography, ancient culture, linguistic patterns, and inherited tradition, assertions that repeatedly intersect with evidence unavailable to Joseph Smith in the 19th century, but later confirmed by archaeology, exploration, and the recovery of ancient texts. To ignore this body of evidence is not skepticism. It is ignorance reinforced by repetition. Nahom and the problem of uninventable geography. One of the most striking examples is the place name Nahom. The Book of Mormon records that Lehi's party, traveling south from Jerusalem, stopped at a location already bearing this name, where Ishmael died and was buried. The narrative then requires a decisive change in direction, from southward travel to an eastward journey toward the sea. This detail matters. The text does not invent a name or rename a place. It treats Nahom as a known location, already established, and geographically fixed. Long after Joseph Smith's death, archaeologists working in southern Yemen uncovered altar inscriptions dated to the 7th and 6th centuries BCE, precisely the period required by the Book of Mormon narrative. These inscriptions bear the consonants NHM, exactly how Nahom would be written in ancient Semitic languages, which do not record vowels. These finds are located in the tribal region historically associated with the Nim people, whose name has persisted in that area from antiquity to the present. Joseph Smith did not have access to South Arabian epigraphy. Neither did Western scholars of his time. Yemen was archaeologically unexplored in the early 19th century, and no maps, travel accounts, or academic sources available to him contained this information. The existence of Nahom is not a theological argument, it is a geographic and linguistic problem that resists fabrication. Bountiful and the east coast of Arabia. The narrative does not end at Nahom. From that point, the Book of Mormon describes an eastward journey to a fertile coastal land called Bountiful, characterized by fresh water, fruit, honey, and timber suitable for shipbuilding. On the entire Arabian Peninsula, only one region fits this description, the Dhofar region on the eastern coast of Arabia. Unlike the arid western coastline, Dhofar experiences seasonal monsoon rains that produce lush vegetation, freshwater springs, and hardwood trees. It is an ecological anomaly, and it matches the Book of Mormon description precisely. Here again, the timing is decisive. Western society did not document Dhofar's interior geography, monsoon climate, or botanical resources until the late 19th and early 20th centuries. These discoveries occurred decades after Joseph Smith's death. There were no sources available to him that could have supplied this information. The match is not general, it is specific, constrained, and geographically forced. A fictional narrative written in rural America in the 1820s should fail here. Instead, the Book of Mormon succeeds. Glowing stones and ancient memory. Perhaps the most ridiculed element of the Book of Mormon has been the account of glowing stones in the Book of Ether. The brother of Jared is said to have used divinely illuminated stones to provide light within sealed vessels during an oceanic crossing. For generations, critics dismissed this as fanciful invention. That dismissal collapsed once ancient Jewish literature was examined. Rabbinic sources describe Noah's Ark as being illuminated not by windows alone, but by luminous stones or pearls that provided supernatural light. These traditions appear in texts such as Genesis Rabbah and Midrash Tanhuma, composed centuries before the modern era and preserved in Hebrew and Aramaic. They were not available in English in Joseph Smith's time, nor were they part of the intellectual world of early 19th century America. The significance is not that the Book of Ether resembles later Jewish texts, but that both preserve a shared ancient memory. The brother of Jared, living shortly after the flood, would have inherited traditions associated with Noah. Joseph Smith would not. Once again, the Book of Mormon aligns with ancient tradition where a modern author could not. The pattern critics refuse to confront. Taken individually, each of these examples raises questions. Taken together, they form a pattern that critics consistently fail to address honestly. Joseph Smith did not have access to South Arabian archaeology, knowledge of Dhofar's unique monsoon ecology, exposure to obscure Jewish midrashim describing luminous stones. Yet the Book of Mormon repeatedly places its narrative precisely where ancient reality later confirmed it should be. To dismiss this convergence requires more than disbelief. It requires the systematic exclusion of archaeology, linguistics, geography, and ancient literature from consideration. That is not critical thinking, it is selective blindness. The issue is not whether every theological claim of the Book of Mormon is immediately persuasive. The issue is whether a 19th-century farm boy produced a text that consistently embeds itself in ancient contexts he could not have known. On that question, the evidence is no longer thin, it is cumulative, stubborn, and deeply inconvenient. At some point, confidence without evidence ceases to be confidence at all. It becomes refusal.